Hello all. In this lecture, we are starting the chapter 1 of your NCRT, that is the reproduction in organisms. In this lecture, we will do the first topic, that is the lifespan, and then this what is the reproduction or definition of the reproduction, and then the significance of reproduction, types of reproduction, and get a very basic view of the asexual and sexual reproduction. And then the last topic will be the variability in the reproductive mechanism. Start with the chapter 1 of unit 1. The name of the chapter is Reproduction in Organisms. In this chapter we understand different mechanisms by which different organisms reproduce. The organism may be plant, animal, fungi or unicellular organisms. All of them reproduce, although with different mechanisms. Before we start with the reproduction, we have one very small topic, that is the lifespan. By knowing why we are studying the lifespan before reproduction, because by knowing about the lifespan we understand why actually the organisms need to reproduce. So first of all, what is the lifespan? The lifespan represents the period from birth to the natural death of an organism. So the lifespan represents the period from birth to the natural death of an organism. So every organism that born has to die, and the duration in between is lifespan of that organism. It may be as small as few days in some organisms, while in others it may be few thousand years. So it means different species do not have the same lifespan, or different species have different lifespans. And then few examples about the different lifespans and different organisms are provided in this diagram. The details of this diagram are provided in your notes. The next point is that we should not essentially correlate the lifespan of an organism with its size. To explain this, we have few examples. The first one is the lifespan of crow is 15 years, while the lifespan of parrot is 140 years, much longer than the crow, although both of them have approximately same size. Then the second example is of mango tree and peepal tree. So as we know, mango and peepal tree are also of approximately same size, but lifespan of mango tree is shorter than that of the peepal tree. So in nutshell, the lifespan is the period from birth to the natural death. It may be short or it may be long in different organisms, and then it is not essentially correlated with the size. This was all about lifespan. After understanding lifespan, our next topic is reproduction. First of all, what is reproduction? It is a biological process by which an organism gives rise to young ones or offsprings, like organism itself. However, it is not essential that offspring of an organism are always exact copy of its parent or other offsprings. Then in which case young ones are exact copy, and in which case they are not exact copy, that we will do later in this chapter. Now these young ones which are produced by reproduction grow, become mature and reproduce to produce their next generation, and this next generation also grow, become mature and reproduce to produce one more generation. Then additionally, from the last topic, we also know about the lifespan, that is an organism that born will live only certain time period and then dies. That is the lifespan. Therefore, here we can conclude that an organism born, grow, reproduce and then dies, and this cycle keep on going generation after generation. Therefore, in nutshell, reproduction is biological process to give rise to young ones. The young one again grow, mature and reproduce generation after generation. Thus the cycle of birth, growth and death continues. Then comes the next point, that is why the organism need to reproduce. Reproduction is so important feature of living organisms that every living organism reproduce by one or another means. So coming back to our question, why the organisms reproduce or what is significance of reproduction? You all must have got some idea till now that by reproduction organisms reproduce their new generation. But again, why is it important to produce next generation? To answer this, now we all know that all individuals die after completing their lifespan. But here we have an exception. There are organisms which are considered immortal, that is single cell organisms such as amoeba. Why they are considered immortal? That we will discuss during question answers. So coming back to our point, that why organisms reproduce. To answer first point is all organisms die after completing their lifespan. But if all organisms die, then how the species survive? So there must be some mechanism that ensures the continuity of species. Because by reproduction organism produce new generation, therefore significance of reproduction is that it is a process that ensures the continuity of species or life generation after generation. As we have said, different organisms follow different mechanism for reproduction. So our next topic is types of reproduction. Each organism has own mechanism to reproduce. The choice of reproductive mechanism by an organism is made majorly on the basis of their habitat. That is whether they are marine, amphibian, live near water, terrestrial, etc. For example, marine and amphibian plants and animals require water for reproduction such as bryophytes. On the other hand, terrestrial organisms do not require water and choose other mechanisms to reproduce. Then choice of reproductive mechanism can also be made on the basis of the internal physiology. For example, animals can move from one place to another, whereas plants cannot move, so they may follow different mechanisms for reproduction. Then yeast and amoeba are unicellular. They may follow different mechanism to reproduce than multicellular organism. Along with the habitat and internal physiology, there are also several other factors that collectively play a role in the choice of mechanism of reproduction. We will discuss two very basic types in which the reproductive mechanisms are divided on the basis of whether there is participation of one organism or two organisms in the process of reproduction. These two types are asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual mode of reproduction is mechanism of reproduction in which single parent participate, and it may or may not involve the formation of gametes. We are very familiar with asexual methods that do not involve formation of gametes, such as budding in hydra, binary fission is in amoeba, as we did these in our +1 lectures. But can you found one example of reproductive method in which gamete formation take place but involves only one parent? Then try to figure out how the drones are formed in honeybee. Do it require the fusion of male and female gamete or require only single parent? Then after sexual mode of reproduction, the second one, that is sexual mode of reproduction, is the mechanism of reproduction which involves the participation of two parents of opposite sex, and it also involves the formation as well as the fusion of gametes. We all are very familiar with the two opposite sexes in humans, but can you name the gametes produced by human male and female? And also try to figure out the location where the gametes are formed in human male and female. And to compile this, we basically have two modes of reproduction, asexual and sexual. Asexual involves single parent, sexual involves two parents. Asexual may or may not require formation of gametes. Sexual require the formation of gametes by opposite sex. Asexual do not involve fusion of gametes, whereas sexual involve fusion of gametes from two opposite sexes. There are some more differences in asexual and sexual mode of reproduction that we will discuss in coming lectures. After getting the basic idea about the asexual and sexual mode of reproduction, in next topic we will find which type of organism follow asexual mode of reproduction and which type of organism follow sexual mode of reproduction. So our next topic is variability in reproductive mechanism. The simple organisms such as algae and fungi most commonly follow asexual mode of reproduction. But that doesn't mean that they always follow asexual mode of reproduction. They may shift to the sexual mode of reproduction to tide over the adverse conditions. Here can you figure out what advantages the sexual mode of reproduction provide that make it more favorable mode of reproduction in adverse conditions? About this we will discuss in question answer session. Next, the higher plants follow both sexual and asexual mode of reproduction. On the other hand, animals mostly reproduce by sexual mode.